as you can hear, we've got people recording us who are in the background. So this will be recorded for posterity. Sorry about that, Xandi. What we're doing, I'm talking today to Xandi Mars of Del Sol Furniture and Del Sol Patio, who is a long-standing friend and creator, who goes back way beyond my time, who goes back right to the early days of Second Life, and I'm longing to hear about that, and I want to talk about Xandi's work and something wonderful she used to do at Christmas, which I think some of you may remember. So, to start with, Xandi, this is a question I ask all the time, but you have a really special answer to this one, I think. How did you come to Second Life?
I'm nervous. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. Just talk to me.
Okay, deep breath. Let me hook up my volumes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was in there.com, and all of a sudden people were starting to talk about Second Life, and you had to, back then, you couldn't just come into Second Life. You had to apply.
Right.
And I applied for beta and got it like 4 weeks later, but I was going on vacation for a week, and I didn't want to go on vacation. I wanted to come into Second Life. But I had to go on vacation because I'd already bought my tickets. So the day I got back, I was like, the whole vacation was like, I've got to get back. When I got back, I logged in, and it was the most amazing thing. It scared me to death. I logged out and didn't come back for 2 weeks. I landed in Second Life, and and when you landed, it wasn't like the islands you used to land on, and all. It was just an open area, and you landed on this dot, this glowing dot, and that was your home port, so you could always come back to it.
Yeah.
And I landed there, and I was like, what do I do next? And I flew, and back then, no one used van lines because there weren't any.
Right.
So I would fly and look in people's homes, and I saw actual real pictures of people, straight up nude and straight up dressed and straight up everything. And I was like, wow, this scares me. I'm going home. And I went back to there.
Yes.
And I told all my friends, don't bother. It's too scary. It's too crazy. It's off the charts. And then 2 weeks later, I came back in, and I fell in love with it. So I went back to there, and I was like, I had about 10 friends, and it whittled down to about 6. I got them all to come to Second Life, and we just were amazed. And back then, I remember the very first thing I did when I came back to Second Life with my friends was there used to be a live help button up at the top of your screen, and I clicked it, and I said, how do I buy lindens? And then it was just lindens working it, and they were like, ha 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 ha, you can't, that's impossible, you have to earn them. So I said, how do you earn them? And back then in Second Life, when you held events, there weren't that many events after 9 p.m. There wasn't an event in Second Life. Am I talking too much?
No, go on. This is fascinating.
So what you would do is you would go to the website and you would post an event, and then if 3 people showed up, you got 500 lindens, and you could have 2 a day, 7 days a week. Right. So that's how I earned my money. In Second Life. And then the other way you earned it was, back then you could rate people and rate their builds.
Oh, yes.
And you would click on a person and you would get a positive rating, and you'd click on a person, and I only had 1 neg rating during the whole time, but I'll tell you why they stopped that. Because they used to, after a while, to get, when your rates were how much your stipend was each week. I'm trying to think back. That's how you actually got paid your allowance each week. So people would go around and have rate parties and just rate, and you get so many Londons.
Right.
And they caught onto it, and then there'd be some bad people that would go around and have neg parties and go to all the rate parties and neg rate, and then it got into forum fights and more fights, and then really, really, really mean fights, and then all of a sudden it went away.
Yeah. I can remember being so happy when people started rating me when I was new. It was a system that was really open to gaming. So at that point, you couldn't actually buy Londons; you earn them. Could you stream music in at that point?
That came a little bit later. I think in the, gosh, I'm not sure. I do remember I started Live Help in 2004, and you could stream music then. But I don't think in 2003 you could. But I didn't know. I'll tell you this so that you understand. When I came to Second Life, I was so clueless. I remember being in Second Life literally a full year, and I saw one touch the ground and a prim appeared. And I said, "How did you do that? What did you do?" So I clicked the ground, made a prim, and I didn't have any textures. So what I did was I'd take a photo of myself, and I did my photo on it and that with lots of repeats so it looked like a texture, and I was so proud of that vase.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And you know what else? We as a group, there wasn't voice in Second Life, so we'd all use Skype. So, this is so dumb. Some of the dumb things we did. We couldn't figure out whether it was $10 to upload a picture or a texture or 10. We didn't know it was 10 Londons. So we were afraid. We were trying to go, you try it. No, you try it. I'm not paying $10. And then finally somebody did it, and it was 10 Londons. We really thought it was $10.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, gosh, yes.
There wasn't like all the books and all the information, and the wiki was like, I think, a page and a half long.
Because no one had written it yet.
No, it was being evolved. You know, when people ask me what I think about Second Life, even to this day, I always tell them that we're still in beta because there's nothing to compare to it. Nothing. And it's just a complete, I don't know how to word it correctly, but it's always evolving.
Yeah.
So we're all in the beta stage forever. I don't care what, you know.
Yeah.
It's beta.
We're all travelling hopefully, because it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive. If ever anyone says, okay, Second Life is complete now, you can just carry on, but we're not doing any more, it would be sad. It would be really sad. It's wonderful to watch it evolve, isn't it?
I'll tell you one thing that was amazing about the first years. I don't know if anybody else remembers or was here then, but there was a group, and they put, I'm such a nerd, they put so much terror in me that I'm even afraid to say their name to this day in case there's ever any of them still in Second Life. But what they used to do is, the people that worked on the grid at London Lab went home on Fridays. So every Friday night, this group, infamous group, used to do something with scripting and did something called gray goo. And what it used to do was it would slowly replicate, and it would take down the whole grid. But it would take about 2 hours. And during those 2 hours, teleports quit working, but we didn't ever care if teleports didn't work because we could fly to each other. Even if it took 10 minutes, you just had to fly around and all that. And they'd have to call out, they call them grid monkeys. I don't know if that's a nice term, to come out and work on it. So if I say anything bad, just slap me.
I don't know. I think this is, I mean, I think it's sad that that griefing went back that far, right back to the early days. It just shows that idiots aren't a new thing. If you've got griefers way back then.
But they were like this group, and you didn't want to even talk back to them, because if you had a little plot of land, they'd surely get it and ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess they were extremely good hackers. Mm. But what Second Life did finally, after about every Christmas, every Friday, every holiday, it'd go down for 3 or 4 hours, and sometimes they'd do it again and again. Well, finally, Second Life found a way to limit it so that when they dropped it, it wouldn't go outside that one parcel of land. So it stopped going all over the whole continent. So we got kind of happy about that. That was an upgrade. That was one of my happier upgrades.
I can imagine. So the lab were actually trying to frustrate the griefers right from the word go.
I can tell you this. Live Help had 3 or 4 Lindens always working on it. They were so supportive. And I think that it's just the population has caused less interaction with Lindens. But they were so supportive. And it was just an amazing time to be there.
I can imagine.
Just an amazing. Even Philip used to come on Live Help, and he'd be goofy and make us all laugh.
That sounds wonderful. It must have been great days to have been around in. Well, when did you actually start making things? If you said it took you a year to raise your first prim.
It's probably around the end of 2004. What happened is I bought a house and I bought some furniture. But the only furniture you could buy was either goth or black leather. And so I started making prissy things, and I got pretty good, and that's what started me. And I made hair. I used to make prim hair. Oh, God, it's horrible. I still have all that. I keep everything.
Okay. Would it be really awful of me to ask if you could put some of the original prim hair on?
No, I wouldn't, because it'd probably take the sim down.
Okay, yes, that's a fair point. These sims get a lot of use, so we have to be a bit protective of them. But maybe we could we should do a photo session in the sandbox or something. What do you think?
Maybe not. It was pretty bad.
I've seen some. I mean, yeah, I remember the first kind of hairs I got, and I was so proud. I thought they looked so cool, and now I'd just be so embarrassed to wear them again. Deli was around in fairly early days too.
Yes, she was.
Just laughing, yes.
There were some pretty funny things that happened back then.
Yeah, and some of them I don't regret. I really do not regret having to pick my earrings out of my butt.
Oh, definitely.
Nor do I regret the... Yeah, go on.
The boxes on your head?
Boxes on your head, yeah. Yeah, and every Wednesday, the grid going down.
Every Wednesday. And I remember when they opened the teen grid, it was only open like 4 or 5 hours a day. And everybody, oh, you know what else? And I know Deli over the cornfield.
Yes.
Back then, when you got banned from Second Life, you didn't get banned where you couldn't log in. You could log in, but it would take you to a cornfield. You'd be on this island, and it was all full of corn with an old tractor.
You know that's actually here at the event.
Oh, wow.
They brought it back
about that.
Especially for that. Yeah, you can go over and explore it. If you look at your map, you'll see that it's down in the southwest. They've actually brought it back with the television and the tractor and all of that.
Yes. I saw pictures of it because I had some bad friends, but I wasn't there. Not even for a minute.
now is your chance to actually go and explore the cornfield for yourself with the knowledge that you can leave at any time you like.
And sometimes the cornfield would be for 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, and they couldn't eye him, so they'd be Skyping and screaming and yelling. It was so funny. It was crazy times.
It sounds like it. So when you gave events, what kind of events would you give?
Oh, well, it couldn't be the way, and I don't mean any insult, but it couldn't be like, come see my new furniture. It had to be a true event. So it would be like, oh God, like the hillbilliest look at, well, you know, I am Southern, but it'd be like the person who comes as the best hillbilly or the skimpiest bikini or
Right.
things like that. It was all those, I'm even blushing now thinking about it. It would be anything to get people, it would be dance till you drop. When we used to have this thing where it was a bracelet that you wore to dance.
Ah, yes, I've got one of those somewhere, a jig bracelet, so I can do an Irish jig. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of them. I've got all sorts. I have an inventory of 85,000. I have every original thing I ever made or got from Linden. You know what they used to do on Sunday nights in Delhi? I think you might have been here then in 2004. In fact, I'm not sure, but they used to do this where on Sunday nights, if you would log in at a specific time, they would send you would I am a Linden, that's how close we were, and they would send you this like little counter, and you'd put it on your land, and everybody would log in at the same time, and they'd do load test. And I remember when we hit 500, and everybody was screaming and yelling and cheering, and it was just, we were like just going wacko.
Oh,
like
500 people on 500 people in, and it was a big thing. That's amazing. That's wonderful.
It was an event, because see, the events now, you know, they're on 24 hours. Back then you were lucky to have the only event I went to 2 or 3 events a week. But I remember going to, oh God, I'm trying to think what it was called. Every Sunday morning, everybody that was anybody in Second Life went to bingo, and I cannot remember the avatar or the woman who used to do it, but she would do bingo consistently at 11 a.m. Second Life time, and everybody went. A lot of people quit going to church just to go to that bingo.
Oh, wonderful.
And then there'd be these rich people that would come in that had made bunches of lindens, and they'd put 1,000 in the pot, and somebody would win it, and we'd be like, you know, I just won 1,000 lindens. Drinks on me, literally.
So, at this point, were people actually making and selling things, or had that really not? So even back then, people were doing it.
Yes, they were amazing builders back then. I was in awe of them. I didn't even know how to drop a prim at, you know, like I said, the first year, so I bought everything. But there were some amazing things. But if you compare it to nowadays, they're not so amazing. But back then, you got to remember, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I've still got stuff that go back with me right to when I came in 2007. Some beautiful pieces of furniture that I think stand the test of time.
They do, but they don't. If you see the mesh and all that coming out now, I don't mean insultingly, because I just meant that with things that are coming out now and the advances.
Yes, there are huge strides coming at the moment. How have you been about that? How are you actually working with mesh?
I am working with mesh at this time, but I am not good at mesh at this time, but I will be.
I'm damn sure you will be. Yes,
I will.
Yeah, because you've done so well with all the stuff you've done. I found it quite interesting, because I did wonder if some of the, you know, like builders who've been in there from the beginning might be more reluctant to take up mesh, but I find that quite a few of the people who've been around longest are the most bouncing up in the air and punching it and going, yes, mesh materials, this is what we want.
Oh gosh, I could fill up 15,000 prims. Give me 2 weeks. And no sleep.
Right, yeah, and no sleep. Well, I look forward to seeing your mesh creations. Have you got many out at the moment, or are you still?
I don't have any out. I'm still in the practice stage, not ready to let anybody see. When they go out, they'll be good, but until then, I have a friend helping me. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy task. I can make sculpties, but mesh is dissimilar but similar. As Deli can tell you more than me because I'm still in the learning stages. It embarrasses me that I waited so long, but I work full time in Second Life for different companies, so I haven't had really a lot of free time. Of course, I can blame it on a lot of things. It's me.
Right.
It's that club that Pet loves in, the procrastinators. Sorry, Pet. Had to put you in the mix.
So, when did you actually start the Del Sol store? When did that actually start up?
I was at a bingo. Mm-hmm. I was at bingo, and this guy stood up and he said, I have 12.5 of land if anybody wants it. No, 1056, which was mega land back then for me. If anybody wants it, you can have it. I don't want to pay the tier. And this one person who had lots of land said, I'll take it. And I asked him, and I said, I don't have any land. Can I have it? Pretty please? And he gave it to me.
Oh, how wonderful. So you got
Everybody
your first land.
Yeah, it was on a hill. And back then, you know, when you're on mainland, you can't level land as much as you can on an estate. So I had the store. But I had doors and pictures that it was horrible. I'm blushing just thinking. I had doors and pictures. I bought the doors textures and stole the picture textures and off the web and thought I was a creator.
Yeah.
I'm being blunt.
Back in those days, I think there wasn't the same kind of realization of how we had to be protective of things. And yeah, I had pictures on my websites that had come from the web back then.
Well, you know, again, like I said, Second Life was, you know, like nothing else in the world. Literally. Literally. I mean, anything now can only be considered a copycat. I'm in love with Second Life.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Me too. So you started with this bit of land, and rather than building a home, you built a store.
Exactly. And then what I did was, well, no, back then I did have land for a house. What they did was, yeah, I know about Active Worlds. I just was not that type of girl.
Okay, so yes, you had land with a house, but this
what
was
they did was every Tuesday they would have, and I didn't know this for like 3 or 4 or 5 months, but every Tuesday they put up land that you could buy for 512 lindens for 512 meters of land.
Right.
And I didn't know about it. And then finally someone said, you know, we should get some land. And so I went and looked because people were selling land for like thousands and thousands of lindens back then. So what we did was, it was a group of 4 or 5 of us. Gosh, maybe more than that. We bought all together. And we didn't even know that we could join the land back then. We just we'd put a chair on one parcel that one person owned, and it would be returned, and then we'd have to slide it over to the other parcel. And then finally we figured out we could join the land and put all the prims, you know, share the prims. And then we didn't know this either, but the land that you buy in that on that island doesn't have to be near it to share the prims. So we figured out that we could buy land as people put it up for sale and just add it to our group. And then we'd
Right.
get the prims off that land. So we had a pretty nice thing going. There were,
And
there
then you
were,
were able to use it for building.
no, I didn't build there. I didn't, no, that was just where I lived. No, I
All
built
right.
on my 1056 barely. Really, my building is not that interesting because so many people build. Some of the early experiences, it just embarrasses me because I see so much good work out there. I'm a very blunt person. But I
But
think that the experiences I had and the way I saw it, the baby steps of Second Life, I think to me, like right now, the luxury of teleporting directly to a person or locating them and teleporting to them if they allow you, that wasn't an option. We used to have to teleport, and in the beginning, you had to pay 10 lindens to teleport, but we threw a big fit and they stopped that. But
wow, I'm so glad you did. That would be a
yeah,
nightmare.
but you would teleport to a hub. Each island had a hub. It was a Linden hub, and they used to theme it. And I remember, the hippopotamus. There's some command on your keyboard which I can't remember. Is it Control H or something like that? Will bring up the word hippo. How they have little Easter eggs in games.
Yes.
I've got them wrote down. I just didn't think about bringing them, but they used to decorate the hubs and different things and have events and put different things in. But you had to teleport there, so the land around it was very valuable because if you had a store and people had to teleport to that hub to go visit anyone else, they'd have to go through your store to get to their friend.
Ah, right.
So when they took that off and you could direct teleport, the
Price of
forums,
that land must have crashed.
it did. Oh, so many people were angry. It was just horrible. That's kind of like every time there's been any change, like in the beginning it was 10,000 prims on one island and it was first come first serve.
Right.
So
Gosh.
people used to bury prims underneath the land they owned
Right.
because
So
they
no one
weren't
else
parcels
could
to
have them.
first, and then there'd be
Right.
fights, and that's how Second Life keeps evolving. Because we complain, our voices are heard obviously with mesh and every other change they've made. So that is a proven fact that they listen. But it was just amazing to see all the things back then. I still remember the awe.
The what?
Sorry,
What's
the awe,
that?
the like AWE, like wow, just your eyes open up.
Yes. Yes, I can imagine. I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen Mari's history walk yet on Beguile, where she's actually kind of put up flags and plaques about all the different years in Second Life, going right back to the beginning. She's got this walk of
There's
history.
one at Linden Lab that has a wall with all of them on it.
Right. No, this is here at the birthday, and she's made a kind of history of Second Life that you can actually see items from each year and posters from each year and read about all the scandals of that year, like when they ended gambling and when they set up the adult continent and all this sort of stuff. And she said that she felt she had to keep writing on the forms. People said that this would be the end of Second Life next year.
They always said it would when they started selling Lindens. They said it would never work. When they started selling islands, they said it would never work. The biggest one was we heard through rumors that Voice was coming. Everyone got so upset.
Yeah.
Not like 100%, but everyone got upset. And then they had a Voice Island that it would be on a different server, and we would log into it. And you'd meet the guys who were girls and the girls who were guys, and you were like, all these years I thought. And then you kind of chuckled under your breath.
Yes. It's quite interesting. I mean, some people carry on regardless. Some people don't use voice. Some people morph their voice. Range of things, and some people don't use voice at all. And somehow everyone accepts it. Everyone accepts what's going on.
You just do. That's part of the intrigue of Second Life. It lets you be who you want to be.
That's right. Regardless,
no matter what. Obviously, I'm here. You're here. They're here.
I am, and so is our audience, which is quite a healthy size now. Don't look, just focus on me.
Oh, God, please. If I see anybody in the audience, I'll start stuttering and falling off my chair.
Okay, no, that's okay. There's just me and Deli. Deli's here too, or at least
that's who I'm focusing on. That's who my camera views on. So
you started off with your store. And it grew. How many Sims do you have now?
I just have 2. I just have the store, and then I have a private Sim I use for building and for things when I do special, like Christmas thingy jiggies.
That you did, yeah. I want to talk about that in a minute. Let's talk a bit first about the store, because you've been building now for quite a while and bringing things out. You're focused. You've given up the hair some time ago, I gather.
I'm sure a lot of people thank me, a lot of Sim owners.
But you do furniture and you do patio style stuff as well.
I'm going to have to be honest again. I have been focusing on my business aspects. So what I've decided to do is maybe do a revamp whenever I get better at MASH. And then I'll talk about the store. I'm not very proud of it. I'm a blunt person about that.
Okay. But I do want to talk about something else you did for a number of years on your Sims, which I loved. You had the really wonderful Christmas Sim. What did you call Wonderland? Was it Winter Wonderland?
It was. God, now you're going to make me feel stupid because I can't remember because you're making me nervous.
I'm sorry. I just want to talk about how wonderful the Winter Wonderland was, because you had these amazing things there. You had a really good skating lake and you had toboggan runs, and
it was called Winterland Classic Christmas. And it's still called that.
Christmas. Yeah. And the island is still there, but you haven't done it for a few years, which...
What I did was...
sad.
I can understand. Going back to the... I had watched that movie, the one...
It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes, and so we kind of modeled it after Bedford Falls, and we put a little bit of Scrooge in it, and we put the Misfits in it, and we had the toy store in it, and we had little gingerbread men, and we had different areas in the Sim, and they would run like down. The one running down the street would be naked, and the one by the hobos would be dressed as a hobo, and the one by Santa Claus's house would be dressed like Santa Claus. And then we had a sled ride where you'd go at the top of the mountain and ride down on a shovel like they did in It's a Wonderful Life.
Shovel rides, yes.
And randomly the ice would crack and you'd go underwater, and there was an octopus decorating a tree.
Yes, all sorts of little Easter eggs to find there as well.
There were lots. And then I had a bar that was like from the 1950s. It was it was called Martinis, after the one in It's a Wonderful Life. And I did all these goofy things like old rustic pictures of Elvis and all this other, and Frank Sinatra, and had 60s music playing in it and 50s.
It was great.
And they had an outhouse. Being from England, do you even know what that is?
It's a loo. We would call it a loo, an outside loo.
Exactly.
Yes, you had that. And you had the campfire, I think. You could go and sort of sit around, shiver a bit, but actually
Yeah,
sit. Yeah.
there was. And the train station and the gift shop and a
Hmm.
movie theater, which back when we first opened it, I didn't realize, but we were playing some Christmas movies. And then I read, you don't realize copyright rules when you first come
Mm.
in. So we were like, can't do that. And so we stopped it. We just had the theater in there, just kind of like to get just a place to go sit and we talk. But
Well,
yeah,
if you wanted to stream some stuff, we could always do. We usually now do a Christmas show from Babbage, which is a kind of a Christmas show filmed in a sort of steampunk sim. So you could certainly stream things like that, and I'm sure there's other
yeah.
things that
Well,
people have
now,
made in
but
Second Life, which would be good. But you don't have winter classic Christmas Winterland. Well, you do, but you haven't done it for a couple of years.
but there's no snow, and it's all. Well,
It's
I'm a
awkward,
messy person there.
right? It's yeah, but no, it was fantastic. And one of the fantastic things about it was what you did with the money you raised from it, which I
Yes,
think we
get
should
it
say.
all to Toys for Tots.
Yeah.
Everything we built, everything we sold, and even the other vendors that came in, we asked them, and of course, we paid for bands to come and paid for events so
Mm.
that people would shop more. And we had a couple of people allowed to sell things on the island, and they had to give 50% of their proceeds and do it also at a discount.
Mm.
And a lot of people chipped in some things, but everybody helped out. So every Linden was given to the Toys for
Toys for
Tots.
Tots. That was
And when a
wonderful.
person gave a large amount,
Mm.
random would make a plaque with their name on it and put it in the toy shop saying that they were nice instead of naughty.
Ah, that's lovely.
Yeah, I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Well, we're coming up to you may not believe it, Sandy, but we're coming up to 10 to 10. Sorry, 10 to 2 already. So what I was going to say was perhaps some people here may have some questions for you. And then give you the audience chance to ask questions either about what Sandy does or about the early days, whatever you'd like to ask about. And this is the point at which there is dead silence. Okay, Delhi. You'd better wait because Sandy's just disappeared. And she's back. Is she back on chat too? Did we lose you on Skype, Sandy? No, we've still got you on Skype. Hopefully. Hello. Sandy, can you hear us?
I can. I'm sorry about that.
That's
Actually,
okay.
I'm going to tell you this. I was going to tell you I crashed, but what happened is when you said they're going to ask questions, I got nervous and hit the X on Second Life, the red X.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just Delhi who's going to ask a question.
Yay.
Okay, Delia is saying, Xandi, do you have any suggestions for where other stragglers might want to begin learning mesh to use in their build?
I honestly do. Do you know what Lynda is? Lynda? It's a tutorial, in other words, you log on. I think it's $25 a month, unlimited classes. It may be around that or a little more, but you take the classes there and you go step by step by step by step. And it's slow paced, it's your pace.
I'll say that we're also running a series in Prim Perfect magazine written by Beck Janus, and Beck has been looking at some of the ways to start building in mesh. There's some free giveaways each month, so you can start practicing things like how to texture mesh, and she talks you through simple steps each month so that you can learn how to make things in mesh through the magazine with free gifts to back it up. So it's worth trying to get hold of this year's issues of the magazine. I think she's doing a really great job in doing a very simple, basic introduction to mesh. And Xandi, if you give me the name of those tutorials, I'll pop it on our blog site so that people can see.
I'll give you the links. I'll have to get them.
Sure.
I also wanted to say one other thing. I don't know if anyone uses it, but I had bought 3D Max. But you can also use, trying to think of the Blender. And if you go to YouTube and type in Blender tutorials, there's probably, hundreds, 100 of them. I would just start. The way I learned is before I got 3D Max, or before I would tackle 3D Max, is I went on Blender because it was free, and then I went and I made a pedal. It showed me how to make a pedal step by step by step by step. So I made like a cherry blossom pedal.
Wonderful. And what sort of prim impact did that have?
I think it was something like a 2. Most of them are small unless you really get involved. Most are small. I think my voice cut out because I was going around. I remember Deli Bean, I used to buy her animations. She made some of the most beautiful animations in Second Life. She inspired me. I finally learned how to make them.
She still makes wonderful animations.
Wonderful ones, yes.
Yeah. I still love her sitting by the water and splashing your hand in the water ones.
I like them all. I think I have lots of them. I won't look at Saffy.
Dalmatians.
Yep.
Okay. So does anyone else have any questions for Xandi?
I'll ask it once.
I think you've told us lots, and I think people are really excited about what they've heard. As it's been lovely to get a glimpse of what it was like in the old days.
One last thing I'm going to tell you. We used to have town meetings, and it wouldn't Philip Sim, and all of us would sit around and actually talk to Philip Linden and ask questions and complain. It was fun.
It must have been. And getting 500 people in and being really excited about it. I love that story.
Very excited about it. It was like if we had an animation to jump back, then we would have.
How was it? How was it that you? How did you feel when you saw the huge wave of people, 2006, 2007, when it really
What
took off?
I was working live help, and we noticed it probably before a lot of people. Back then, you had to pay a monthly fee to join Second Life,
Mm,
and then when they gave it away free, live help would get so many calls that
mm,
you answer, and it would be like they ding and back then you'd max out. You couldn't have more than 10 IMs, but if you work live help, you could have up to 100. So I'd have like 100 IMs, and I'd be going, "What did I tell you?" And what did it was just
gosh.
crazy. So I saw when it went boom, it went
Mm,
ba boom. It was crazy.
I can
And I may
imagine.
be wrong on the numbers. It might have been like, 50 IMs, but it felt like
Mm,
3
it felt
trillion.
like, yeah. Gosh, handling something like that must have been a nightmare.
It it really was. It was that's when they finally closed it down.
Mm,
They had to.
because it just got too heavy.
There was just you could 100 people couldn't handle 1 million people. You'd have to have if you
Mm,
just imagine how if you had a button up at the top where you could ask any question that came to mind, like how do I find something I lost in my inventory, or I can't find my hair,
mm,
or how do you do this and all that,
mm.
you it would just be insurmountable. It would be like miserable.
I remember Life Help as being incredibly useful. I used it once, and I was still very new in Second Life, and I had a problem with getting something to res, and I couldn't get it to res. And finally, the guy helping me said, "Well, you better come over, and I'll actually take a look and see if I can make any suggestions." So I went over, and he was a Pegasus. He was a winged horse, and he was wearing a wonderfully embroidered smoking jacket and smoking a pipe. And I just thought, how cool is this? I'm being helped by this winged horse in a smoking jacket. This is just so great.
It was fun. It was so much fun.
Mm.
It still is fun.
It
I
still
just,
is, yes.
yeah, I don't mean it like that. Once in a while I wish for the olden days, but I'd wish for about a day, and then when the gray goo hit or there was a fight in the forums, I'd go, gosh, I wish it advanced some.
Yeah. Yeah. The good old days weren't quite the good old
No,
days. No.
no,
No, these are good days too. Very
very
good
good
days.
days.
Right. Well, Xandi, thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us, and I hope it wasn't too terrifying.
No, it wasn't. Thank you, Deli, for not moving your avatar and letting me focus in on you.
It was really great. It was wonderful hearing about the old days, and you were able to share so much that I didn't know, and make me wish I'd been there. In some ways, not for the grey goo.
Well, if you were there, we would have made you spend the $10 to have a picture uploaded.
Yes, that's true. That was terrific. Thank you so much for joining me today, Xandi, and thank you to our audience for coming, and thank you to Mal and Pet Love Pet Shop who have been streaming this, so it's all going to go out live. And if Pet has kept her camera from not looking at my skirt, I think that we should look okay, Xandi. No drop jaws, I hope.
Thank you. We are out now. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, quiet, quiet.
Okay, we'll be out in a